Okay. All right, guys. Happy Friday. Today's video going to be pretty quick. Basically, I'm just going to give you my analysis of this map that you had to analyze using that why of where mindset we've been talking about. So, first off, if we look at it, we see it's a map of the United States. And looking down here, this is a map of highways and interstates in the United States. And right off the bat, there are some interesting things that jump out at me. Namely, that the eastern part of the country has a lot more highway and transportation infrastructure than the western part. So this allows us to make a number of inferences. For starters, we can infer that since there's more transportation infrastructure in the eastern part of the country, there's more population in the eastern part of the country because, well, there's more roads here because there are more people that need to move around. So we could infer eastern part has greater population than the west. Looking at the way these highways are distributed as well, and if you see how they frequently go into like these hubs. So like here, for example, there's Indianapolis, Indiana, where you've got all these highways going in and going out, and you've got these transportation hubs all across the country. That gives us an indication of major urban areas and major economic centers because they've got all these transportation routes going into and out of these cities, these areas. So we could infer these are major cities, these are important parts of the country. Also looking at this map, we can glean some information about the types of economic activities, the types of land that make up the various parts of the country. So looking at the West, with much less infrastructure buildup, we could infer that their economy is going to be more focused around things like farming or mining, ranching, things like that, things that don't need a whole lot of infrastructure built up, and that you would actually want more of these undeveloped spaces because you need to use them for those economic activities. For example, like you can't, if you want to farm in an area, you can't build a whole lot of roads and infrastructure around it because it's going to take up too much land, if that makes sense. Conversely, in the East, that has a lot of infrastructure, we can infer that their economic activities would be more related to industry and services. So things like finance, banking, insurance, as well as manufacturing. Things that you would want a lot of transportation infrastructure built up, especially for things like manufacturing, because you've got to ship all that stuff. You've got to ship your materials in to make stuff, and you've got to ship all your stuff out for people to buy. Lastly, we can maybe make some inferences about the physical geography or the terrain of the country. We could infer that since there's much less infrastructure built up here and there are fewer urban areas, there might be in the West some physical geographical obstacle, some physical obstacle out in the West that might make building infrastructure or building up large cities and urban areas out in the West more difficult, which if we know anything about the physical geography of the U.S., we would know that, yeah, there is a bit of a something out here that would do that, the Rocky Mountains. So anyway, that's just my quick analysis of this map. Just to give you guys an idea of some of the inferences we could make from this map using that why of where mindset we've been talking about. If you guys have any questions about this assignment you're working on now, where you're basically doing something similar with a lot of different maps, again, you should know how to get in touch with me by now. Stop by my office hours, send me an email, whatever. It does not really matter to me. Have a good weekend, guys, and we will get back to this on Monday.